Today, on Leaders in Coffee, presented by Bachour, we sit down with Coral Gables Museum's Christopher Spukes and John Allen. Well, thank you both for joining us for Leaders in Coffee, presented by Bachour. Chris, you were just appointed to the board, or actually just became the chairman of the board. Tell us about the service that you're giving the community and the board, and what brought you to the museum.
Well, John Allen brought me to the museum. And the museum has always been attractive to me because it's such a center for not only culture and the arts in Coral Gables, but other things such as seminars and education. And a lot of people don't know this, but we do about 200 events a year at the museum. People think it's just exhibits sometimes, but it's not true. We do seminars, we do walking tours, we do boat tours, canal tours. We do so many things at the museum for the city of Coral Gables that it was a natural for me, being attracted to this city, to start getting involved more in the museum.
And John, you've been with the museum now for about 4 years as its executive director. How has the museum changed in these 4 years?
I was on the board for 6 years, and then I was chairman, and then I became the executive director. So
you've seen that development of the museum.
I have, and it's one of the things I'm the most proud of. We've done, I think, and I'm not trying to sound self-serving, but I will. We've done remarkable things in the last 2 years, and for example, as you and I were talking earlier, to get on the program of Art Basel in a question of 2 years is practically unheard of. But we have a remarkable board, and the chair of our exhibits committee worked. If it hadn't been for his unstinting persistence in getting it, I don't know that we'd be where we're at today, but I'm really proud of where we're at. If anything, we're suffering growing pains because we're going a little too fast. So.
Well, speaking of growing pains, you just had your party like it's 1939 museum gala and fundraiser. Where does the museum get its funding, and how can the community get involved?
We're always looking for funding area. I'd say probably 45% of our funding comes from state and county grants, city grants, and the rest is contributions, just membership, obviously, and individual donations. So, which is a little bit different model than some of the other who rely very heavily on direct board support, and we have in the past, and will continue that to a certain extent, continue to submit the grants and everything that are sustainable, and that as long as you play by the rules and you do the right thing, you've got a base from which to work.
And Chris, from a board perspective, what are your goals as the chairman of the board and for the museum for the next 2 or 4 years?
Well, before I get into that, I just want to also mention that we have some wonderful sponsors that have been great for the museum, such as Withers Worldwide. We have Stern Associates. We have Mercantile Commerce Bank. Schutz & Bowen, a great law firm, just came on board as a sponsor. So we've been, and John will add to that list, I'm sure, but we've had some wonderful sponsors that have really helped us with our programming and being able to get what we want to do out into the community. So my mission for the next couple of years is to really expand on what we've done. We really owe a lot to our founders, everyone that really, made this museum in 2009, people like Chip Withers and George Kokoris, and Lynn Bauer, who immediately preceded me, really started with John this renaissance we've had in the last 2 years. And so now the goal is to really increase our exposure in the community, and we'd also like to expand our resources as much so that we can do that. And that's really my mission for the next couple of years.
What new exhibits are coming to the museum? I know you're constantly bringing new exhibits and new presentations for Coral Gables and for anybody who wants to participate. What's coming next?
We're really excited about this year. Right now, through April, through the beginning of April, are the exhibits that we did in conjunction to tie in with Art Basel. And after that, on April 3rd, we opened an exhibit called Headlines, Unfolding 117 Years of the Miami Herald, which we're doing in cooperation with the Herald. The Herald has been unwavering in their support of it. They've lent us artifacts, including the 1926 linotype that was used to report the Great Hurricane. We're going to have a front page from every year from 1910 on. And so our Director of Historic Research and I searched through item after item after item, and it's amazing to watch the generational differences as you go from the wild cap 30s and the Depression 40s, the Depression 30s into the war fever years of the 40s. And then we didn't want to single it to just like being totally dramatic stuff. And so you get to the feel-good 50s, the Ozzie and Harriet period, and I Love Lucy. And I had an idea. I said, go to this state and see what's on the front page. And he goes, that's not going to be on the front page. And sure enough, it was. And the headline was, "So long, Elvis Presley, hello, Sergeant." So long, Elvis, hello, Sergeant Presley. And it was him getting a buzz cut being inducted into the Army. So that was the mindset at that point. That was a headline story. And so it's fun. And we've had Alex Vlach, who until recently was head of the publisher, the Herald, and Mindy, who is now the publisher. They've been over backwards. And we're going to have an ancillary photo exhibit that'll concentrate on three main events in depth. And then the Fuel Gallery will be the big show.
And the museum also has a great collection of archived photos of Coral Gables as well. I was recently there and I saw the incredible mosaics you have of what Coral Gables has been through the years. Can residents go see that?
Yes, most of it. Fishbaugh, who is Merrick's master photographer, we have the original Fishbaugh albums, and we do put them out on display, obviously very well protected. They're invaluable. But most of our archives, we're not a collection-based museum. You got to remember, the history of the museum. It was built as a police station and a fire station. It wasn't meant to be a museum. So storage space is sometimes a challenge, but paper archives we can protect properly and demonstrate when the time's right. So we'll have a Fishbaugh exhibit coming up sometime in the next year.
Well, Chris, for those residents of Coral Gables that have recently moved in, what message do you send them about the museum?
The museum is the place to be. It's really the center of the Gables in terms of culture and arts and education. And you've got to stop by. You got to see what we're doing. We're doing great things, like John just mentioned with the Miami Herald. I'll just mention that I think John scored a coup in getting, programming goes with everything we do. We're going to have Dave Barry to do sort of a retrospective on the Miami Herald. So
that's great.
We've got something for everyone at the museum. Come on by. We're happy to show it to you.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us. We're going to go enjoy our pastries, but come by Bachour and enjoy your pastry, or come by and have dinner. Thank you so very much for watching, and tune in next time for another Leaders in Coffee presented by Bachour.